Good morning, this is Mia, and I was hoping not to have technical difficulties. This light over here was not working. What is this? Is it pumpkin seeds or something in the bed? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's really bothering me. I don't know what's going on with that. So, I was going to film about 10 minutes earlier, and I ended up starting a load of laundry, which has not been done in such a long time, and I don't think this, it's hard to tell. I don't know if the store was open. It's supposed to be tea time, y'all. Yesterday, but they're not really they're not like parking in their parking spot. Where you're like, oh, there's someone there. I bet the store's open. And you can't see this sign, open sign, very well. And because the two buildings are connected, there's a lot of noise and sound movement from other doors and stuff opening and people going up and downstairs. So I was just erring on the side of caution to not do laundry pretty much 7 days a week. Even Sunday. They used to be closed on Sundays for the most part. So I accidentally left my plant outside and there's a frost warning. So my plant had bugs. I took it outside and it's a sweet potato. And you're not supposed to have it under 50 degrees. I could have put it in the stairwell, so oops. I messed that up, but I need to treat the dirt. And maybe I'll just plant another sweet potato in it. But I have to treat the dirt or throw the dirt out and start over. Today's video is going to be one of the collapse series. For the collapse series, I don't know if I have a playlist for it. But if I don't, I'll just put collapse check-in. What happened in the past to get you where you are now? And where you are now, how are you going to set yourself up so you can succeed in the future? And that future only lasts until, for two parts. One, for your own life. Two, what legacy do you leave? If you said kind words to people, and two people remember you saying kind words, 2 thumbs up. Some people have hatred and evil. Some people made mistakes. Some people are messed up. Drunk driving accidents. People mess up because they have diagnosable condition. Alcohol use disorder. You got one store here selling liquor and beer, and you got a super expensive treatment center down here. When I was doing my work in the CTGR building, Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, they had a casino office for the Grand Ronde Casino, tribal office, and they had a counseling center or college renting part of the building, and they had problem gambling office. You have people selling cigarettes on this side, and you got smoking cessation medications on this side. Big pharma. You got the treatment. I had a neighbor that had a hole in his throat, and I swear he was smoking cigars. Almost when I think he was smoking them through the hole in his throat, but I was a little kid, I kind of forget. But he talked like different like that. I didn't know what was up, why he had a hole in his throat. And my mom made me go, I wanted to sell Girl Scout cookies, so he was one of the doors I knocked at. I lived in a very little neighborhood up north. What do you do if there's a collapse? Something big like missiles falling on people and destroying buildings. Like, how can we control it? How can we, the people, control it? What if there's an outbreak of a disease? Someone's talking about foot and mouth disease from the daycare. how you go about dealing with and prepping for um, snowstorm. It's frosty out now, so it's probably slippery on some of these overpasses. Um, personal, for instance, my bank accounts are empty. This is kind of a first. I don't know why, when I'm in a relationship with men, that my income goes down and my credit, my debt goes up. This has been a pattern. This is a nightmare for me. I don't know what to do about it. Go get another job, I guess, but and stop buying food like this orange. So, in that little town, my mother had gotten sick and been diagnosed as being mentally ill. She was taken to, I call it nut house, to an inpatient facility where they would not release her. My mother called me when I was trying to do my schooling, I thought was going to be my last semester of the university, and she said, I need you to call my mom and tell her to come and get me. Come and get me. She won't come and get me. And I called her mom, my grandma, and I have stuff to my face. My grandma was doing fish, where you see this on PBS, I think, where she answers the phone and takes donations for, it's like loaves of fish. It's like the Bible story where you bring in donations and then somehow you help people with food. And it was my grandma's shift, and she had a landline, because it was the 90s, and, I mean, we had cell phones back then, but you needed to be at your shift, and she didn't want to go miss it and go. So basically, this is Michigan, the bottom part, this is Michigan, like, big. We were here, Grandma and my mom were here, I was at college here, and in between is, like Saginaw, or I don't know where my mom was taken to a hospital. And she wanted her mom to get her. I don't know why she didn't ask me to get her. I was probably doing school, so that was a valued thing in my family. So what had happened was I went back to whatever I was doing and didn't understand why they thought my mom was crazy. My mom was abusive to me, guys. She was crazy, but she wasn't publicly crazy or diagnosable crazy. It would have had to have been hearsay, right? She was working in a school, an old school, and she had, which I actually think, let's someone talk about mold. Hello? Start the time. The school is now closed down. That's where I went to kindergarten and first grade. She would end up working at Cedar Lake Elementary School, and she was having trouble breathing, and she was having to call 911, and they were coming to take her away, and she was having really, really abnormal blood counts. And I my dad had the medical records, but the house burned down, so I don't know anything about any of that stuff. And she, was given blood transfusions multiple times, and she was going to the hospital multiple times, and I don't know if she was doing it. I believe some of it was occurring while she was at school, and I was calling my mom because I was really struggling with young adulthood at age 21. From age 20 to 21, I was struggling the whole time, but she's saying on the phone, I don't want to hear about what's going on with you. I'm telling you that I'm sick. And so it was pretty selfish of me, but it should have been a give-take, not no, I'm not doing this because you do this to me. It should have been like, you tell your problems, I'll tell mine, and let's meet up in the middle, you know. Literally, like, at Red Lobster or something in the middle of between here and here. So, what had happened was, this was before this particular time, I had, I guess, written down the phone number of the hospital. I had a landline in my room, this rooming house, where my dad had been paying for this phone. So my mom was able to contact me. Everyone was able to contact me. I was kind of a little rich kid without knowing that I was rich. So I had, basically, my rent was $240 for room and board. Or I think it was $220 if you paid early or something. So it was below $250, whatever. That's cheap. I don't know. That's really cheap for room and board. Like, that was all your food. Anyways, I didn't have, if I had a double room, it would have been like one something. Actually, I had a double room for a brief amount of time. No, I should have paid only $120. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. That's cheap. Anyways, it might not have been $120, but it was still cheap. I called that hospital back, and they said, this lady's not here. I said, this is her daughter, can you tell me, where are you? I have like an accent that's bothering me right now, because, alright, this is not how I usually sound. Anyways, I don't know who told me that I think she was taking a U of M, and then the leukemia diagnosis came up. So that's what's hard when you have somebody who's been sick, maybe for a couple years, and she ends up having all these blood transfusions. To me, you have a physical ailment. Who cares if you have a mental ailment? There's stigma based on that. Oh, she's crazy. Like, she was crazy. But she had a physical ailment. Again, not a mental ailment. But they locked her in a mental hospital for a physical condition until they were diagnosing her with leukemia. And she was probably sane and saying, I don't feel well. She would hide her illnesses. She would hide surgeries and procedures. The rest of us. I knew some stuff. My dad didn't know much. The doctors didn't know. When they went to remove her gallbladder, it was already gone. And I believe that they actually cut her up to do a surgery and saw that it wasn't there. Like, who knows? Maybe she didn't know. Maybe someone, she was a black woman. People do experiments. She was born in the 40s. People do experiments. And I had been born C-section, and she had type 2 diabetes. And anyways, the word gaslighting is coming to mind, with the family making me feel and be looked at as the crazy one. I am being looked at as the messed up one. I have my wits. Even when I was drinking, I couldn't barely drink when I was 20 years old. I could take a few sips. Before that, I was drinking when I was like 17 through 19. In the first part of age 20, I could drink. Then I couldn't. All of a sudden, one day, like, I started when I was in 5th grade. So I just definitely earned a seat in AA. And the substance use got to be what I think is severe self-treating for PTSD. Severe treating for depression, anxiety, OCD, and then other substances for ADHD and focus and dyslexia. Anyways, back to that small town, the small street, and our big house on the lake. I wasn't allowed in the house for more than like 10-20 minutes. So I'd drive about 3 hours from here up north, and I would have my fiance in the vehicle, the father of my kids, and he was not allowed in the house at all. So you're just driving for 2.5-3 hours, and you had to stay out in the driveway. And it was over a 2,000 square foot house. My mom emphasized because I was too close to her. She wanted space, plus a full-size finished basement, plus a 5-acre yard. So there was room to not just sit in a truck or in my Jeep. It was really my dad's Jeep, but people were jealous of me. I was like, it was never in my name. I don't have that Jeep now. I'd be driving that thing. Oh, heck yeah, I'd be driving that Jeep if I had it right now. Another story. It's hard to drive when it was windy, though. Anyways, another story. I tell people I wasn't able to even get a drink of water. I may or may not have been able to use the bathroom. So I'd go straight to the bedroom where my mom was in hospice. So she was already in the hospital. I visited her, 4 times a week. Failed out of school, one of my classes, for missing a test. Got a D in a film class where pretty much you sit and watch films. It was devastating for me to be dealing with a sick parent who was also my abuser, but just bending over backwards. If you saw my actions as a daughter, you would be saying, wow, you were really sweet and super forgiving. But my brother and his girlfriend got the glory. I wasn't looking for glory. I was looking for a piece of mind. I don't know if that's, I was a golden rules person. This is a human being that needs to be treated with respect and love. Even after she whipped me and punched me and slapped me and cussed me and threatened to kill me, all from, middle or elementary school up. So I started scaring her with some kind of magic type stuff. She laid off when I started tapping into some kind of weird spiritual thing that was kind of powerful, and that's the only thing. I got bigger and I scared her with some demonic stuff. Literally, guys, literally. My hair is looking so interesting with this dress. It's slowly growing. Sorry, except for not here. Back to the story. That was a commercial break. Except for not here. Every time I braid my hair, all the pile of hair that comes out is gray. I don't see any black when I do it, so I don't know what's going on, because it looks dark in the film, except you could tell here it's not. My hair started turning gray at 21, by the way. 21, 22. And my daughter remembers me as being a gray mother. And she was born when I was 22. She said, oh, Mom, you've always been. I said, look at me, I'm getting old. I look old, my hair's starting. You've always had that since we were babies, Mom. What? That's how we recognize you. That's how we remember you. And it was the stress of this family. My ex-husband, my dad, my mom, everyone, my brother, everybody, all the extended relatives. I offered to drop out of school and help take care of my mom when she was in hospice. And she said education was too important. You need to finish. So her mother took care of her. And her mother was in her 70s or 80s. She was over 75, and I can't remember how old. It was revealed to me that 2 of my mom's cousins we would take about 6.5, 7 hours to get to Ohio. I don't know if it was going to Dayton or Columbus, because those are an hour apart. But we had, I'm going to say it's at least a 6.5 hour drive. And it was revealed to me years later that besides me only being able to be in the house for 10, 20 minutes, and I would just talk to my mom and check in how she's doing and listen to her. And I did the same thing at the hospital, and a lot of the times I was traveling or getting rides or hanging out, going to raves, and then see my mom on a Friday evening, and then going to a rave and maybe coming back the next day, because I was in Detroit and she was in Ypsilanti, or University of Maryland, or University of Michigan Hospital. Then she went home to hospice. So I was visiting as much as I could. I think the very first trip, my friend came with me because we also went to see her grandma in a care facility. And her grandma wanted us to get her candy, so we left and got candy, maybe from a vending machine. My friend Mary, and I have a lot of friends Mary. There's a different friend Mary from college, and I tried to do the same thing with my mom. I tried to get her some M&Ms. She loved peanut M&Ms. I said, no, the doctor said I can't have peanuts because of mold. And back to the house, the hospice. I heard that when my dad was still working, he was leaving usually on Sundays. He did this since I was in 6th grade. He would leave on Sunday nights usually and be gone for 1 or 2 or more weeks, depending on where he lived. And so he was making juices and stuff for my mom, and my grandma would take over. I don't know if she spent the night. She must have, but she was there caregiving for my mom. I offered to do it, and my brother was coming up having he always had many girlfriends. So one of his many girlfriends was chit-chatting with my mom, and they were like the stars of the show, the perfect, daughter-in-law and son, even though they weren't married. She was just a one other girl that came and left. But I wasn't allowed in the house. My ex-husband was absolutely not allowed, even in the house. You could have used the toilet really bad. You would have been behind a tree somewhere. That's how bad it was. In that house I grew up in, my dad was not there that much. He was when I was really young, but in 5th grade, between 5th and 6th grade, he went to outside of Kalamazoo, so I feel like he was gone 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks at a time, come home for the weekend and holidays. So it was so much time spent alone in that house with my mom and with myself. And her cousins they had a cellular phone from the 80s, guys, or from the early 90s. And they were not allowed in the house. My mom was dying. My dad would not allow anyone besides my brother and his people and my grandma. I don't even know if my grandma was able to be in the house when he was there. God, this is when you want to pick up the phone and say, Grandma, can you tell me more? And they had to go down. It was a dirt road. They eventually paved it, but it was a dirt road in it wasn't rural, but it was a forest town with an Air Force Base across the street that had closed down a couple years prior to that date, in 98. And she would have to wait until my dad left the house after these people just drove up. And they're up north. It's not like they're going to go hang out in a coffee shop. There was no coffee shop. Maybe there was. I never went to one. And you're black. And you're up in a place with a bunch of racist people. Like racist white people. Between the whole trip, half the trip is straight up. Like, you wish you had really dark tinted windows because you don't want... People would try to kill us, literally. That's another story I've shared about. They run you off the road because you're black. And it happened frequently. And a bunch of military families lived up north because of the base. And we had to drive through towns that were severely racist and live in a town where there's a lot of racism. And I've seen extreme violence because someone is black, including myself. With violence and hate crimes. They did not care. The teachers did not care. And you gotta fend for yourself. So it's easy to be introvert when you're social because you watch people try to murder you besides your own mom. But they had to wait till my dad left and get a phone call from my mom. It's safe to come to the house. Like, could you imagine driving 7 hours? And they said it was the middle of winter. It was cold. They were parked on the end of the road. I don't even know what the neighbors were thinking. Like, there's some black ladies, and they were probably driving a nice, clean car. Because that's what everyone in my family does. And they're probably wondering why they're sitting there looking like it's a drug deal or something. Because you're sitting there lurking. You're not even in anywhere near our yard. You're not in the driveway, you're not in the woods across the street. Like, you know, when you go to a regular neighborhood and you're like, oh, we gotta wait because they're putting the baby down for a nap, we're gonna wait outside. But you're like in the vicinity of your buddy, and people could see you going in. Oh yeah, that's their buddy. That they know them. You know, they're not just case in the house or whatever. And it breaks my heart because I know that these same people, when my mom would visit, she stopped staying the night because my grandma was no longer owning a home in Ohio. And I think for the 75th anniversary, was it 75th birthday party? I feel like it was a different birthday party because we didn't make it to the 75th, I don't think. Anyways, one of the birthday parties for somebody we went to in a hotel room. It was big and crowded, and I had a shirt that matched an older woman's shirt that I got from the Goodwill. It was like a polyester flower shirt. Sheer. I was like, oh my god, she's got the same shirt I have, but I think she probably actually got it in the 60s. Whatever. I just got it second hand or whatever hand it was, third hand. I think that time we spent the night at the hotel for the party, but because I don't think it was a family reunion. But usually my mom didn't want to stay. People made fun of her because she was fat. She was only a size 10. So I have body dysmorphic. I am fat. I know I'm fat. But I had body dysmorphic. Everyone was calling her fat. I was wearing her clothes. Her jeans. Because she wasn't wearing them from the roller rink. And they were kind of big because they were woman's shaped. Like childbearing, hips shaped. But they fit me. I had to wear a belt. And I looked back on those pants years later and realized they were a size 10 for a, 40-something-year-old African-American woman. Like, these are not, this is not fat. Then she gained some weight when she used meds and got sick. And I don't know what her weight was. Probably 220, maybe 250. But she was still not that fat. In my eyes, she was just bigger, big bellied. And Grandma had it too, and I have it, and we were active, eat our salad, eat our veggies, and still gain a lot of weight. Lean meats, lots of water, lots and lots of water. So the collapse part here is that someone died, and there was also so many angles of danger, but so much of trying to be there. So these women would say that when your mom came down to visit us, she said she'd feel relaxed with us. These people don't talk to me. They love my mom, even though my mom was a jerk. But she probably wasn't a jerk to them, that's the thing. People choose their victims, And I ended up hearing that she was thinking of getting a little semi-temporary, semi-permanent situation where she could visit regularly her people down in Ohio. And I really appreciate hearing that. Because she didn't get away from my dad, who was no good, but it's her choice. She was an adult. It messed us up, and there's some harm, lots of harm done that I've told to therapists. They haven't even discussed it, let alone try to say, we're mandatory reporters, we have to do this. Something happened when you're under 18, this and this and this. I don't want to sit in a courtroom, but there's stuff that's going through my memories right now that I don't even want to talk about. So I'm already crying, and I wanted to make it about the collapse, but it's messed me up to this day. And I'm concerned for other adults and children to be anywhere near this monster, the one that's still alive. And I woke up this morning and saw a picture of some relatives with this monster, and I warned them. And I know that he's a good actor, and that they will not believe me because he has money and acting skills and lies. And they don't know the details of the stuff we dealt with. And my brother knows some of the physical violence, but he left the house the same time, 87. So there's so much that happened when he was home before 87. But there's so much that happened because he was out working all the time. So he wasn't at home seeing this drama play out. And I know that he was exposed because I feel like we have the same anxieties. Except his, I think, had a very strong bond. He had a very strong bond with my mom. And my mom taught him to not like me. So they ganged up on me, my brother and my mom. And that, to this day, when I see the family, when I see the word family, I see love, companionship, and a family that prays together, stays together. What's that sign I have on our door? A family knit in love or something. Family knit. There's a big heart on our door in Portland. I think it's still there, and it's sad because everybody's dispersed, and I feel sick about it. I'm gonna cry. My first counselor out here spent most of my time. My partner's gonna be home soon. I don't want a video to come on. He spent most of my time talking about, you're so messed up, your family did this, you were so abused. How on earth did you turn out where you're not abusive? How on earth did you turn out with all of these addictions and you end up going and putting yourself through medical school and becoming a doctor? How did you do this? How did you do that? I don't understand. I never see this happen. Usually it's the complete opposite. I don't have to pick up the hatred from my mother and father and brother. I don't have to be like them. And I didn't even treat them like they treated me. I just checked out and I was so nice. And my counselor said, oh, you did that so that you wouldn't get hit. I said, no. I did it because that's the right thing to do. It wasn't walking on eggshells. My mind didn't think of that's protection. That's almost manipulative. You know, oh, this person won't blow up if the house is clean, so I'm going to clean the house, and I'm going to do everything and not do my homework and not go to work. Like, no, I wasn't like that. If I want to clean the house, I clean the house. And the way mean people are, it doesn't matter if your house is clean or not. I was getting beaten and hollered at because I had missed a spoon underneath the drying rack in the kitchen when we had a flood. And I bleached everything out and washed all the dishes and all the silverware and bleached all the drawers. My ex-husband didn't help, and he found a spoon that had fallen under the tray or whatever. He chewed my butt out and carried on. That was soon after that I left that. It was soon after that I left that situation. I think it was like a week later, literally. And that was only because I already had a path starting to be paved from NA, from people in NA. So I'm thankful for those people. When you have a situation where there's a disaster, a war, illnesses, work, normal day, people drop their kids off at kindergarten, think of people like I'm talking about in this story. Think of people that aren't supportive, but not only are they not supportive, they are gaslighting, they are lying, they are saying that I'm the problem, and they know the truth, but they'll kind of eye you, and they'll try to be like, oh yeah, she didn't even visit her mom. She she's a bad daughter. She was all thinking she was some kind of like, they'll say that in front of your face, and you're like, and if you're in a situation where there's a need, your child's injured, you're sick, you're running out of money because somebody stole your wallet, and you go to any of these people to ask for help, and they already